my mind I want to get out. Haven't even started my day yet. Whatever. This is the topic of indecision. Bear with me as I try to eloquently describe my thoughts, because they can be everywhere. I'm working on it. But I feel like throughout my life, I've always had issues with making a choice, picking one thing. And as it goes back to with Avatar: The Last Airbender, the example there, picking which element you would choose to bend. If you weren't the Avatar, which element would you pick? Just one. And I like all the elements. Maybe some I like more than others, but they all have their pros and cons. Earthbending is cool as hell, you know, it's tough and strong. You can do really cool moves. Firebending, there's like a fluidity with it, really cool in and of itself, that like the fire comes from within. Waterbending like has so many, what is it, like sub-bendings to it, with like the spirit bending and the blood bending and just like the healing, really cool. Airbending, even though like this is hard to achieve, but the fact that you can actually fly, and if you know me, I want to be able to fly. I don't know. And then it's like, well, then just pick airbending. But then it's like, to achieve that, you have to let go of all earthly ties. And do I really want to pick that? And then do I even want to pick airbending just for that? So I feel like the choice I'd pick is Avatar, because then I get to have all four elements. But then I don't know. I feel like this may come from like my own anxieties of, well, if I say that I want to be the Avatar, then other people would look at me like, well, of course everyone wants to be the Avatar, but pick just one element. And it's like, well, I don't want to pick just one element. I want to pick all of them. And then like picking one style with like the clothing, you know, we have all these different aesthetics, and they come from like different decades, maybe different forms of protest. And I feel like an aspect of that too is like on social media, we've kind of made outfit aesthetics, you know, your clothing style, a personality, a lifestyle. And I feel like I don't necessarily resonate with a style enough to consider it to be my whole lifestyle, if that makes sense. Or art. My art style, I feel like I have a few art styles that I vary between. Maybe I can show some examples. I haven't really been making much art except recently, because I've been really obsessed with the Fruitless Quests of Nabiu, and I've been trying to replicate the style. Yeah, out of care. But again, it's like, I don't want to stick to just one style forever, because there's so many different styles that I feel like are so interesting to look at. Maybe you could have something more like cutesy style, something more edgy, something moodier, serious, realistic. You know, the list goes on, and you can keep making more and more styles. Your imagination is limitless type shit. Interior decorating, you know, and you have all these different styles with like rustic and contemporary and industrial, cottagey, kind of like the whole cottage core. That's huge. But it's not something I want to stick with, you know. And I think an aspect of it is, it's like, well, I want to separate myself from everyone else. What's my style? I don't want to pick, you know, from these options, pick a style. It's like, I want to make my own option. Even with the general likes that I have of interior decorating, I enjoy like more simplistic designs and like furniture and shit. It's like, okay, even though I like the simplistic design, I don't know if I necessarily want to stick to minimalism, because minimalism starts to get into lifestyle again, you know. If I pick this interior design style, interior decorating style, and then it becomes my life, you know, is that what I want to stick by for the rest of my life? I know humans can change and shit like that, but I don't know. I think an aspect of it is very scary to me. Which I guess is a segue into the next topic, which is the uncomfortable with labels. For example, you know, I love green. I've come to terms with that. And it's not even a bad thing. It's just like more so accepting and celebrating the fact that I love green. But I feel like within liking a certain color, there's subsets of personalities or like aesthetics that you can get into. Like if you like green, you know, oh, you must be like a nature girly, you know. It's like, okay, maybe not necessarily that, you know. Or if you like green, you like toxic sludge, and it's like, okay, I'm not necessarily into that either. Like, it's cool and all, but I wouldn't make it my life. Or like, I feel like I've been seeing this a lot more, and this could get me off on a whole tangent, but like the matcha green type of aesthetic, like, I don't know, it's kind of getting very specific. But, you know, it has that matcha green color within its aesthetic personality. And it's like a pastel, like cutesy kind of vibe. I don't know, I've been seeing that on the rise. And with something like that, like that's definitely not my style, you know? I like green, but I like different kinds of greens. Another color is pink. You know, if you think of pink, you kind of associate most of the time with like cutesy girly, frilly, which brings me to my other thought of this drag queen, Evie Oddly. If you don't know Drag Race, Evie Oddly is the season 11 winner of RuPaul's Drag Race. And she did a look where it was like pink but deconstructed. I forget if it's in her season 11, or if it's the All Stars All Winners one that she does this look. But she does like a very punk pink, or just very like different. Was it alt? And I really enjoyed the look because it's like, in my mind, it feels like, oh, finally, something different within the pink category. And obviously there's like many kinds of, you know, pink categories, because again, there's various shades, hues, tones of pinks. The aesthetic of like a pastel pink girly may be different from one of a hot pink girly. But then again, why is it that we have to put a label on these two girlies? You know what I'm saying? Perhaps a pink lover could love both, and that's an option to have. Why is it that I have to, you know, stick to one aesthetic? And it's not that I genuinely have to. It's not like the world is holding you like at gunpoint. It's like you have to pick one, just pick one forever for the rest of your life. But it feels like that. In my chest, it feels like that, you know? Which I segue into the anxiety of having to stick to one path. I feel like I've noticed this, like, as I've aged. When I make a decision in my head, it's like, okay, this decision is made and I have to stick to it for the rest of my life. And I'm not sure where this comes from necessarily, but it's just, I felt that way. Maybe in some aspects today, I still feel that, which, you know, I'm trying to unlearn because I feel like it's not really useful for me in particular. And the reason why I say that is because it's like, okay, now I have this thing, this path that I've chosen that I want to go through. But then as I go through the path and I'm realizing maybe this is not actually what I want to do, I feel like my world falls apart when I start realizing maybe this isn't the path that I actually want to go down. Maybe I want to choose an entirely different path. And like, even right now, like I feel the anxiety of that, of like, oh shit, like I have to choose something different. Like I thought I knew myself enough to like stay down this one path, you know what I'm saying? And there's nothing wrong with choosing a different path. I guess it kind of goes back to the whole, like, you know, there's nothing wrong with quitting, you know, you can quit at any time. But I feel like society also villainizes quitters, and maybe that's an aspect of it. It's like, okay, well, if I don't choose this path, then I'm labeled a quitter, you know? And what does that mean about me? What does that say about me now that I'm a quitter? Am I a flip-flopper? Am I sheep? Do I have to be told what to pick to then be okay with it? No, I don't think so. Because I don't want to be forced into a label, into a path, a life choice, a lifestyle. If I had to have one label, why can't it be multifaceted, you know? And I wonder if this is all exacerbated by the internet, because, you know, you have like the aesthetics and, oh, like the core, like cottage core and things like that. And I feel like there isn't anything like inherently wrong with trying to find something that you align with more or resonate with more, with like aesthetics and like cores and things like that. But then I feel like it can get to a point where it's like, well, now this is my whole life. This is my whole personality. And is it sustainable? Is it really? Do you feel joy sticking to this one path? And maybe you do feel joy. And maybe one day the joy subsides and, you know, you feel like you need to change. There shouldn't be anything wrong with that. But I feel like an aspect with the internet is like you have to present yourself forward facing, right, to the whole world. And like with all like this algorithm bullshit, it's like, who knows if someone will find you? And then on top of that, who knows if they will stick with you to see you grow, you know, as time passes. And some people may remember you as one thing for the rest of their lives. You know what I'm saying? And I guess that's just something you have to be okay with, that you'll be viewed as one way for the rest of your life. And I guess that's something that shouldn't affect you. Something to chew on. Because, you know, what authority does the internet have over you? Nothing. If electricity went away, what would we be doing, you know? Touching grass, as they say, I suppose. I don't know. I've just been kind of grappling with the idea of making a decision, but also being grounded in making this decision doesn't define who I am, if that makes sense. But then my mind wonders, at what point is it doesn't define who you are versus now this is what you are? Like if I made the decision to drink Inca Cola, shout out to Inca Cola. If I made the decision to drink Inca Cola every day, would I not be an Inca Cola lover? But then, I guess a nuance of it, what if I don't drink it every day? Does that still make you an Inca Cola lover? I feel like everything I'm talking about kind of leads back to like black and white thinking, but the world isn't black and white. You know, they say everything in moderation, even moderation itself. I think it's also a struggle of like identity and being grounded in yourself and knowing who you are. And I guess some people can sit with the idea of this is who I currently am, this is what I currently do, and this is what I feel like I can do for the rest of my life, and then one day that just stops or it changes. Like if I wanted to be a painter my whole life and I did things that aligned with being a painter and I was content in it, and then one day I decided I didn't want to be a painter anymore, I feel like that thought is like scary, because it's like, well, didn't you like see it in your mind that you wanted to be a painter? What happened, you know? And I guess that's the human experience. You can one day just be like, well, I don't want to do this anymore. And I think that's okay. There's also an aspect of like being frozen from too many options. I feel like I kind of experience this with video games nowadays. I have so many games to choose from, when before I would only have like one game, maybe two, you know, to go back and forth from. Some of you may had more to choose from, maybe less, you know. But I feel like nowadays with video games, and specifically in my life, there's so many games to play, so many to choose from, and I want to play them all. But when I'm presented with all the options, I go back to what I'm used to. Why is that? Why can't I just make the decision that day to do something different? And I guess that's just the whole creature of habit type of moment, but I don't know. I just find it interesting. And I had to get these thoughts out. Maybe I'll have more on the topic, but yeah, that's it. The video ends when I clap.